there, it's Sarah from Hearth Cabinet here in the Chelsea showroom, and I'm really excited to be here today to introduce our audience with somebody who really doesn't need an introduction. I'm going to spend the next few minutes chatting with Vicente Wolf and asking him to share a little bit about himself, much of which we approaches, how he's incorporated Hearth Cabinet into his projects, and something about the future. Hello there.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Nice and warm there in front of the fireplace.
Yes. Yes. We should have done this in person.
Warming your back there.
Yes. Absolutely. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
I'm looking forward to our conversation because your product is one that really I think is so apropos for these days, and instead of burning wood, one can do it in a much nicer way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. We're that's an honor for sure. I gave you a short introduction in the beginning, but thank you so much for joining us. To everyone, this is I'm Sarah again from Hearth Cabinet.
I'm Vincent.
And this is Vincent from Vicente Wolf Associates, and also VW Home, which is an exciting. You get to split yourself into many roles, I'm sure, but certainly into two. So I'd love to. Maybe we can start there, sort of with your decision to take your years of experience in design and bring it to a store with hand-selected, curated items that you're standing behind.
Well, it came about in a very strange way. My landlord said, "Oh, the space next door has opened. Do you want to expand your offices?" And I had more than enough space. So then I thought, well, I travel around the world. I always find things that I love, but I never have a place to put it. So that's how VW Home started. But there are things from my travels. Upholstery that we produce, framed furniture, tables, as well as I said, one-of-a-kind pieces that come from all over. From Europe, South America, Africa, the Far East, all different places.
Right. And now, are those products that you're bringing into the store, a retail environment, are they, obviously they're hand selected. Are you ever shopping for items for particular clients, come across other items that are more applicable to a general audience? How does that work for you?
Sometimes I am looking for certain pieces, but in general, I'm just buying the things that I like.
Sure.
And that will work for me, work for other people. It's just the process of selecting, process of looking at objects that you feel can work well in a traditional or contemporary space. And not just regular run-of-the-mill objects that have interest and patina to them.
Right.
That's what I buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's certainly, it's an interesting approach to be able to bring these items in, antiques, artifacts from all over the world. And then, as I think, in lots of, we'll discuss some of your many accolades, but in your book, or a couple of your books, you talk about the journey of travel and how you source these items. How do you take, how do you take a particular item and create a story around it for a particular space? Is that a process that you use?
Well, actually, the reason I buy them is because they have a story already. I don't have to make it up. They just, you have to, when you're accessorizing or buying certain pieces of furniture, you want items that, when they come together, they really add something to the space and does not look generic.
Right.
So whether it is masks from Africa or wonderful porcelains from Thailand or carvings from Indonesia, you know, they're not mass-produced items. They're
Right.
items that I have found in going into small towns looking for, you know, you're searching. And it's part of the fun to be able to, you know, just keep looking until you find something and you buy it, and then I put them all together and they get shipped all at once. So it's fun for me because I walk into the showroom and I just, you know, each item that I look at, I'm back again where I found them.
Right.
So it's a cheap way of traveling without leaving New York.
There you go. There you go. Do you ever bring clients on these search journeys with you?
My clients would not like sleeping on the floor in the middle of
Okay.
the meeting. You know, it's not 5-star, it's not 4-star, it's not 3. Maybe it's 2-star.
Okay.
If you're being generous, but no, those trips are my time to unwind,
Yeah.
to be inspired. I think I've traveled to Europe, you know, to go to Paris with clients, and that's a very high maintenance sort of situation because, you know, you're having to think, look, talk to the client, you know, just not maneuver, but just sort of guide the situation for the pieces that are going to work right. And if they don't work right, how do you explain it to the client? You can't say, no, that's no good. You have to sort of, there's a lot of energy that goes into traveling with a client.
Right, absolutely. I would have been shocked, as most people would have, if you said, yes, of course, I love bringing my clients along with me wherever I go.
It depends. Some clients are a lot of fun to travel with.
Sure.
But other clients are, you know, now they're really looking at things in a market with hundreds of objects. And, you know, they're going not, a lot of the times they're going to be attracted to the more common things because they can relate to it. It's finding the objects that have a third dimension that can really bring that space to another level. And usually those are much more sort of difficult pieces for them to sort of wrap their heads around.
Right. Well, I hadn't thought of that. Sure. When you're sourcing products, you see things that, of course, designers don't, and many of us wouldn't. And it can be quite overwhelming for somebody who doesn't have a trained eye, who isn't open.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that's why they're sort of getting you there.
Right.
To direct them into, you know, what you're doing. So
in terms of your signature style, you have lots of projects under your belt in different areas, in different parts of the country and world. Can you identify a signature style that you approach most or all projects with?
Well, I think that when you look at work, it always has a very calm quality, a sense of timelessness to them, a wonderful mixture of styles, periods, and cultures together. A sense of elegance, but in a very relaxed way. And
right.
With great detail to the architecture, and a sort of quirky, unexpected sort of details and pieces.
Right. And what is that design process like for you? From sort of start to finish, what is the process like, and sort of how do you approach it in your own way?
Well, I mean, if it's a design process, it's first finding out what the client wants, what their needs are, how they're going to use the space, what they like, what don't they like in the way of colors, texture. And then starting with, in the design process, with the architecture of the backgrounds. From there, furniture plans, then balance of furniture, and finally, colors and materials. That is the usual process that I take. And most people say, oh, you don't like the fabrics? No, that's the best thing, because I think I don't want the fabrics to be the thing that you see when you enter a space. I want you to see a combination of all those elements together, so that each one is forming part of the puzzle of what a room should be.
Sure. And in terms of timeline, do you try to? Yeah. How do you put it all together and make sure that it gets completed when it's supposed to?
Well, first you cross your fingers.
Yes.
Which is the best thing, because you need a lot of luck to run jobs and have them all turn out at the right schedule.
Yeah.
I think that the most important thing is to be able to order everything at once and not do bits and pieces, because then the scheduling just really gets very confusing. Our jobs take from the time that we presented the job, the client has approved, and they paid the deposits or the invoice. It's 12, 16 weeks from beginning to the end. And when we install jobs, we bring everything at once. We don't send a sofa and then a club chair. We bring everything together, because I think when it goes in bits and pieces, clients get very, the chair looks too big or too small, and where's it going to go? I don't know if I like it. You want to present to them as a finished product what you presented as a total concept.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. You're aside from the logistical nightmare of figuring out what is being delivered when. I think a lot of people, and I don't know if this is newer given the variation of lead times of custom-made products over the past few years, or it's just always been your approach, but the idea of sending everything to a warehouse so that you can pull rooms together and deliver rooms essentially, or large pieces all at once.
Well,
that's really
some of the times yes, certain pieces are put in warehouses. You find an old piece, where you're going to put it. But in general, we try to, the upholsterers, the metal people, the cabinet people, they all have the dates of when these things are supposed to be installed. Working towards that, installation date. So it really works very well. Somebody's thumb is in front of the lens. It's gone. Okay. Yes.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, again, with the idea of being able to put a chair in a room and it not feeling proportional to the space and having to tell that story. So how do you then organize it so that you can pull all the pieces together without
you form a schedule.
Sure.
All the purchase orders have the installation date.
Right.
You're constantly calling suppliers. Is it ready? Well, it'll be ready. You have 2 weeks left. You have a week left. The scheduling all the truckers to pick everything up. It's just, clients don't realize what does it take to orchestrate a job coming together for an installation.
Yeah.
And they just think, they don't think. And it is a really very arduous thing to do, because you may be organizing 100, 150 items to be all picked up, all delivered, all organized, and being sure that nothing is left behind.
Right. Right. I think design for many people is the beautiful component, and so much of it, as you're explaining now, is not beautiful. It's the logistic. It's the business and logistical side of pulling a project together.
You want it to be beautiful, because if not, then it's a lot of wasted energy. But you know, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for magic. You don't want to go to the theater and see all the troubles that they went through to get this show on the stage. You want to see the curtain go up and the show to begin.
Sure.
And that is what we do. We create a fantasy in our minds and present it, and then we open the door and there it is, you know, three-dimensional.
Well, that's another thought, or to another point. I suppose you can't not allow it, but do you share the process with clients along the way, or do you ask them to come in at the end?
No, you know something, sometimes they go to the upholsterer because, you know, you want them to be, if they have back problems. If he's very tall and she's very short, you know, you want them to sit on the upholstery to be sure that they're both comfortable. You know, they go to the job site if we're going into construction. They're seeing the development. But when we're installing, we ask them not to be there. Installation together. And having a client there is stressful for them, and it's certainly stressful for the designer, because you're having to talk to the client. Oh my God, is the sofa not fitting? You know, why put yourself through that?
Right.
You know, you want to walk in and see the fire burning and the flowers and the candles, and really experience what the designer had in mind for you when they presented it to you.
Sure. Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure how easy that is to convince somebody that, you know, not to.
You know something? We all have rules.
Okay.
And that's one of the rules. In all the years that I've been doing this, maybe it hasn't happened 3 times, 4 times.
Okay.
You know, and with very powerful men that feel like I'm walking in, and it's like, no, you're not. You're going to stay out there, and you're going to be quiet, and you're going to wait, and you know, that's the only moment I feel that we're in control. You know, just you want it to be wonderful for them.
Right.
You know, why walk in when the couch is askew in the middle of the room? What pleasure is there in that? You know, except the fact that they're there and it's the control. Oh, okay, I'm here now. It'll all work out.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know how many, and maybe I don't know how many. I don't know that I've asked that question before. It hadn't occurred to me. And now I certainly will ask that question more often, because I don't know how many people, designers and architects, are able to do that and say, you've hired me, we agreed on this, you'll see it when it's finished. And I think that's a really, again,
Well, I mean,
very smart.
If you're installing a job in a day or 2 days, you know, it's a very easy thing. And you know, the reality is that it is something that we say from the beginning.
Sure.
You know, so it's not like, oh, you know, you pull it over their heads at the last minute. You say, I like to do that, so I know it is perfect for you.
Right. And I think your experience probably reassures people that when they walk in, they will be pleased.
And if they're not going to be pleased, it doesn't matter if they're standing there; they're still not going to be pleased.
Also true.
It is better at least to see it all together to be sure that you like it or you don't.
Right.
But if you don't like it when that all happens, there was something wrong here in their part because they've been shown everything. So you mean to tell me you approved everything and then you don't like it? Then there's a quirk there.
Right. Right. Has I'll ask the uncomfortable question. Has that happened before?
Has a client ever walked in and not liked it? I have clients walk in and be very nervous. I mean, why don't we move that chair and see how it looks over here? Just start like, it's like you stir water with something in it.
Right.
You have to, it all settles to the bottom, then they're okay. I've never had really a client walk in and say, I hate this. I mean, knock wood, I hope it never happens.
Yeah.
But if it would happen, I am sure that I've done my best. I've presented to them a complete picture without any sort of surprises. And
right.
I mean, with renderings, with materials, with plans, with elevations, with all these things, when they're paying the bill to process, they have maybe not a clear vision of how it's going to all look together, but they know exactly what they're paying for. The surprise is that it's always, and it has always 99.9% of the time, much more than they ever thought it would be.
Right.
For the better.
Right. What advice have you through, and this is where I'd like for you to share a little bit of your recent project, your recent book. What advice do you have for designers sort of starting their careers, maybe coming out of school, hiring their first clients, looking at all of the history of design, way.
If they came out of school, they shouldn't be working with a client.
Ah, got
it. They should pay their dues first.
Yeah.
Because what you learn in school is not what's going to happen in the real life. And you owe it to the industry, because if you're starting and you're taking a job and you're screwing it up, it's not good for the industry, it's not good for the client that's paying you, and certainly it's not good for you, for your reputation.
Sure.
So I think it is very important to pay your dues, work for people, learn to see how professionals work before you venture out to, to do something that maybe you're not prepared for.
Right.
So, but if you paid your dues and you're starting your business, first of all, be as professional as possible. Do your contracts, do your billing. There's a two-part to this. One is your creative, and the other one is your business person.
Sure.
And if one is not in the right place, then you're not going to succeed. You could be the most talented, but if you don't run your business the right way, your clients are not going to stay with you.
Right.
So you need to know both sides and be professional in how you approach both sides of the board.
Sure, and certainly the best way to do that in any industry is by learning under people who have done it before. And it is right. Excellent advice to not assume that you've gone to school and you're ready to hire a team of people and ready to redesign people's spaces, but to go work for people who have done that, who have a reputation, and have things, applicable life lessons and projects to teach, so that you can really build your own portfolio, even if not everybody's meant to own their own firm, right? So we all appreciate the fact that some people, that's not their vision, and they want to be a specialist in maybe a variety of firms or move through firms and honing different skills. So it's sort of interesting. How do how do you build your team there? You have two different worlds. You have your store, certainly, and that takes a different
Trudy Romeo runs the showroom. And my office, they're designers, some with lots of experience and some that come out of school, which to me is the best way to form a team because you train them in how you want your business run. And they're learning as well. They're learning how you design a project, how you bill it, how you estimate it. So I think that's how I built my team. All people that have desire and have, passion for designing, and for part of my responsibility when I have people like that starting is the idea that me to teach them, expose them to designers from the past, expose them to where ideas originated from. I think that that's very important because I find a lot of designers that are going into the marketplace right now have no knowledge of the path in design. They know how to use CAD and they use computers and all of that, but they're not fully aware of the history that has brought this industry to where it is.
Right.
And I think knowing the past helps you to move forward to the future.
Sure. Yeah, excellent advice. And as in terms of looking back and looking forward, the sort of buzzy question is what do you see as trends? What do you see as focal points in the coming year for the world of design, I should say?
Well, I think we can live in an isolated world of design, unfortunately. I think that we're very much guided by society around you. Right now the world is in a very difficult time.
Yeah.
People are afraid. There's a lot of insecurity about economy, politics, global problems. So at those times, I think people, what they want is environments that they feel safe, that they feel comforted, that they feel that this is their environment. And I don't think it is the time for groundbreaking. I think it requires moments of a lot of security to break ground. If you look at the periods, the 20s, the 50s, the 60s, those were times where the economy was good, where people were ready to expand and to look for new horizons. And that's when design really took the strongest leaps forward. I don't think that that's where we are right now. So I think that what is in the future, if there's anything, is I think very slowly, through a very small eye of the needle, more traditional pieces are going to be incorporated. And the reason is because I think for the last 5-6 years, a lot of designs have been very generic. And I think that the incorporation of older pieces, not just dumb brown furniture, but traditional pieces that have a personality, it's going to start to give spaces more depth, more interest, and more humanity. So if there's a direction, I think that would be it. But it's going to be very, very slow. I mean, if you go and look at auction houses and what traditional pieces are bringing in, I mean, very, very good pieces, with a lot of provenance, still are not going for a lot of money.
Right.
So we've hit the 80s, we've hit the 60s, the 70s, where else are you going to go? but to go further back to really start to find pieces that are available. So
Well,
that's
it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting to think about how those pieces will be integrated in, into designs in the coming months, years, and how, how history will be represented. So here's to hoping. Well, this has really been such a fun and few minutes, 30 minutes. I really so appreciate. I'm honored that you.
I wanted to tell everybody about my new book,
Yeah.
Creative Interior Solutions,
Yes.
by Rizzoli. You can order them on Amazon. And I think that what I'm trying to put across in that book is different jobs with different problems and what the solutions for them were. So I think it brings a dimension, and I think it helps people to, see things in maybe a little bit different way and find solutions for their problems.
Right, and I think there's the elegance to being able to tell that story. As we talked a few minutes ago, not every part of a project, as everyone knows, is flawless, and so being able to share some of those challenges and solutions. Certainly, as you're talking about bringing people up through the industry, there's no better way than documenting.
Let me just say, it was beautifully written by Margaret Russell, who used to be the editor-in-chief of AD and décor. So, I mean, her voice, the way she's put my voice across was brilliant. So it's a great book to read.
Well, and it's nice to do projects like that with a team. Certainly, that you respect, and certainly it goes back the other way too. So we're all excited to take a look at it and read through and learn some of those lessons. And
if anybody has questions and things like that, they can email my company, and we are always delighted through Instagram to answer whatever questions you have or comments. So I would appreciate it.
That's great. I think it's the accessibility to to people with your accolades. Again, I didn't list all of them or many of them at all. I don't know that I need to. Just we're honored that you were here. Thank you for sharing news about your new book.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
In my bathroom in Montauk, I have one of your fireplaces.
Yes.
And it's in my shower. And when the contractor installed it, he said, "Who would put a fireplace inside of a shower?" It's a big shower. And I light it at night in the winter time, and taking a shower, it's just really
Well, it's not
wonderful.
your average
And I want to thank you for it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's not your average bathroom, so we are honored to be a part of it. It's such a wonderful installation, and we're so glad that you enjoy it. I mean, that's the other part of it. It's lovely that things look good, but it's also that they're used and feel appropriate in the space.
I mean, in the winter time, what better than the fireplace? I mean,
Not much.
And one that you don't have to clean every time you use it.
Right. Well, we look forward to a cozy winter. Hopefully we'll have some snow this year, and we have a showroom, not too far from where your store is. Certainly we're here to share some of the beautiful pieces we have, and we look forward to working with you again soon in the future.
Thank you very much for having me. And
Thank you so much.
Have a nice rest of the week.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.